Daylight, my MVVs, welcome. Four Ifa priests and Adetutu perform Iro Furun Arún Ikòkò on behalf of the jewel, okay? A ritual that cleans the entire community after they said the Òfárèndé ritual success. They had to perform that ritual. Now, they said, there's this African adage that says you do not know the day that the stream will save your life, so don't insult the stream. That was exactly the kind of quiet wisdom that moved through the palace and the entire community that morning, because nobody expected what happened after Òfárèndé. Nobody expected the kind of cleansing, the kind of relief, the kind of freedom that came when four Ifa priests and Adetutu gathered to perform Iro Fúrún Arún Ikòkò on behalf of the jewel. Everything in the palace had been tense for, a very long time. Everything about the Arún. How Arún terrified the entire community, right? So when a lot of people got sick, and they said that it was because of the suffering that the jewel went through and the things that they did to the jewel that brought that negativity upon them, that they will not get well until the jewel's position is being restored, and everything. They will continue to suffer and suffer. And for some reason, a lot of people were affected. Ikpe's son was affected. Other children that had absolutely nothing to do with what is going on. The gods, the way they treat people is that sometimes they want to put trouble in your mind. Even if they don't put it in your own physical body, they put it in your heart, in your life, okay? And that explains the reason why the person who committed the offense will be left alone. Then the child will now begin to suffer, like in Ikpe's case, right? And so they now decided that they were going to perform, a ritual, okay? But that ritual can only be performed when, the jewel's position, that even if they performed it then, it wasn't going to work until the jewel's position has been restored, okay? And that ritual now, they say they call it Iro Fúrún, which is the cleansing of the air, cleansing of the spiritual atmosphere, okay? Now, Arún means sickness or negative energy affecting a person or community. Then Ikòkò, they said it means pot used to, collect and carry away the negative energy. So the cleansing that they perform, okay, is called Iro Fúrún Arún Ikòkò, okay? Basically a ritual to wash away bad energy. I do know that I don't pronounce these things well. Please forgive me, right? So now they said this ritual is usually performed when there is too much tension, fighting, jealousy, or confusion, like the palace. A lot of things have happened. When there is sickness and affliction, someone is carrying heavy spiritual load. When there is a very serious affliction that has been caused by, pollution that, deliberately came from the gods to affect your community because of the things that you have done. Ifa priest, Babalawo, or any other person, they will go ahead and perform that ritual. Now, being that I've been able to, in my layman language, explain what the ritual is, this ritual happens to be the ritual that has been performed. So when Adetutu and the elders, they came together to perform this ritual, one of them said something. He said that, the land suffered with the jewel, that the jewel did not suffer alone. The people suffered with her. The gods themselves were angry because the jewel was publicly humiliated, pushed aside, insulted, denied her rightful place, and made to carry pains she did not deserve. For years, the jewel carried sorrow like a heavy load on her head and her back, and everybody kept quiet. People watched her cry, people watched her break, people watched her walk away from the palace she belonged to. Some even supported the mistreatment. Some laughed at her, some mocked her, some used her story as gossip. But the gods did not laugh. The gods of the land saw everything. They saw her tears. They saw her humiliation. They saw the betrayal. They saw the lies. They saw how she was pushed out while others took her place. They saw her son, the prince, out there with her while others stay in her place. And the gods responded the way gods respond, not with noise, not with trait, but with Arún Ìkòkò, a spiritual affliction that quietly spread through the land. Nobody understood it at first. Families began falling sick. Some people who used to be strong became weak overnight. Business owners started complaining about, strange misfortune. Children who had never been sick became, sick. Women started crying over sudden pains. Men started losing their strength. It happened, though, to a lot of people. The worst part was there was no cure. They said no cure worked. Herbs failed, medical treatment failed, even elders' prayers, seemed useless. This whole thing started going on and on and on and on until the great lion now went for seclusion. It was a great lion who discovered what was going on. They did not even know. They did not even know. They said it was a chief who first suspected the truth, though, but they didn't speak. They said, let's watch. But the moment the great lion came back from seclusion, the great lion saw what was happening. From the day the jewel left, a lot has happened. Palace has never, ever seen rest. Things have happened. A lot has happened. And so now, after the Òfárèndé ritual, they now decided to quickly go ahead and do, the ritual. If իրώ FÚRÚN ARÚN ΙΚΟΚΟ. When it comes to this one, I used to find it very difficult to pronounce some of these names. They said the ritual took place early in the morning before sunrise. The air was quiet. Even the birds did not make noise. People stood afar, watching silently because they knew this was not the kind of ceremony you laugh around. Adetutu walked in front holding a small calabash. The Ìkòkò, the sacred pot. The pot represented the sickness that had held the land hostage. Inside the pot were herbs that symbolized purity and peace. Behind Adetutu, the 4 Ifa priests followed. They were dressed simple, no decoration, no glamour, only seriousness on their faces. They chose a small open ground near an old tree where elders once performed healing rites long ago. The ground had not been used for years, but that morning it felt alive. The lead Ifa priest, placed the pot on the ground. The other priest stood in a circle. Adetutu remained beside the pot, her hand gently on the lid. The first priest began to chant. His voice was low, not shouting, just firm control, speaking to the spirit of the land. He said the truth plainly. The land has sinned by allowing a daughter of destiny to be humiliated. The second priest joined him. We call on the gods who punished us. We ask them to now release us. They said the third priest followed suit. Let the suffering of, the jewel end the suffering of the land. Let her happiness bring back happiness to our land. As she has been restored, let the land also be restored. They said they all kept quiet. Adetutu knelt beside the pot. She opened it softly and began to speak in the simplest words. She spoke as if she was talking to the land directly. She said, everything in the jewel suffered, the land suffered. Every tear she cried, the land tasted sorrow. Every insult she received, the land carried the wounds. But now she has been restored. Now the gods are satisfied. Now let the land be free. She took clean water and poured into the pot. She added white chalk to represent peace. She added herbs to represent healing. She added calm wood to represent new life. Each priest placed their hand on the pot. They prayed silently. After a long moment, the lead priest lifted the pot high above his head. Everybody watching, held their breath. He shouted, Arun Ikokun, your time has ended. And with no strong motion, he threw the pot to the ground. It shattered instantly. The sound was loud like thunder breaking something invisible. The moment the pot broke, it felt as if the wind itself exhaled. People watching felt chills. Some started crying. Some felt something left off their shoulder. Some who had been sick for months, from that was what we started hearing, that a lot of people are getting well and are getting healed now. This happens to be the power of a destiny child. That is the jewel. This is exactly what we heard has happened in the palace. I'm going to bring you more update. Do not forget that these are all alleged, rumored, unverified information making the rounds on social media and should not be seen as fact.